Huh? Yeah, it's
Thank you. I'm
Rob?
Rob. I'm Rob Rambo. I'm the fifth generation on the same patch of land that my great great grandfather bought in the 1860s, and I built my house about a quarter mile from the house where I was born, and that kind of backed me into interest in wildwood history and so forth. Um, I love participation in this committee. I wasn't sure whether I would or not when I first got appointed, but it's been great fun. And my I'm a physicist and engineer, and I've spent my career at the intersection, but I bailed out as quickly as I could, and now I'm a tree farmer on that same 50 acres or so. So I'm happy to be here and welcome to everybody.
Diane Schoenfeld, so I am new. And well, I just a combination of things. I've lived in the area myself over 44 years. My husband has lived here over 75 years, and we have been in the same house in that amount of time. So we live fairly close to Bethel Church, which also is a very historic church. And when Wildwood Incorporated, we at the church started the Wildwood Heritage Festival, and I don't know if anybody was around at that time, but that was one of the first festivals, kind of celebrating the Wildwood area. So just have had a lot of interest in the history of the area and have continued with that. And I had most recently talked with Robin about a sign that we have on our property called the Wild Horse Creek Valley, and it was put up in the 1960s, and it's still up, and it's a wooden sign carved out of wood, and it's right on Hart Road. And so just talked to Robin about it a couple of months ago and said, do you have any interest in this? It's been around for quite a while. So Anyway, I have a big binder that I need to get up to date on everything, but I'm very interested in the history of the Wildwood area and preserving it. So thank you.
Welcome. I'm Debbie Quarternick. My family's been in the area before Wildwood and since the 1950s. And with that, just have a lot of interest in the history of the area. So, used to speak with ex-mayor Bolin and he thought this would be a good fit for me with my interest in the history of the area to be on the commission. So he nominated me for this and now I've been advanced to vice chair. So way to go. Here we go, right?
Here we go.
Anyway, I appreciate the diversity of ages and whatnot on this commission. And I think that brings a lot to the community. I like the things that we're doing as far as reaching out to the community and getting them involved and having their opinions on what they think is important with the history of the area and how we can let people know about it. So, but yeah, I've been enjoying it so far.
Thanks, Debbie. I'm Alan Bockert. I have been on the commission for almost my entire term. I only have about 5 months left where you'll see me sitting here, and then Debbie will take over for the remainder of this year as my term will expire. I reside with my wife on just off of Fox Creek Road on Chatham Lane. We've been there for 11 years. Formerly, I was pastor at King of Kings Lutheran Church in Chesterfield, where I served for 11 years as a senior pastor, and moved to Florida and thought we'd retire there, but we decided we would retire back here, so we came back again, and that's why we've been here for the 11 years. My wife was the principal at Pathfinder School. It was St. John's School when she was principal there. And we have 3 children, and they all reside in the area, and they all have children. So it's a great pleasure for me to serve for these 5 months. So.
Hi, I'm Kurt Henslick, and I've been on here. I'm in my second term, my first year of my second term on this commission. Mayor Bolin called me and asked me to serve on it. I thought, well, that's kind of in my field. So I'm an architect, and so I'm doing it. And I spent, I think, 7 years on the Architectural Review Board. So, and when they first asked me, it's like, well, how hard can this be? The city's only 25 years old. How much history can there be? There's quite a bit, actually. Anyway, it's been a pleasure to work on it. I'm all done.
Hi. My name's Elizabeth Royals, and I am so excited to be back in this commission. I spent 4 years here. Some of you were here, and I love this commission, and I love it most of all because we do something with the prosperity of the past. And my richest things that I've done, I'm a retired educator. And if any of you need counseling, don't call me, even though I'm still a counselor in many ways. But I found a place in north central Missouri. I say Missouri. That's what we say out west and up north. And I found my great grandmother, not her tombstone, but enough stories that I found her, and my cousins and I put a headstone in this place. And so it means a lot to me that I know where she is, and it meant a lot to my cousins. And you can do anything if you just keep talking to people in a vicinity and find your relatives. And it was lucky for me too that I put my great grandfather's his tombstone was kind of skinny and tall, and you couldn't read it. You had to mark it with chalk. You know how you do that. And he was in the Civil War in Missouri. He didn't leave Missouri. but he got shot in the arm and they released him because he couldn't hold a musket up. So there's all kinds of things that just push you forward to find out more and more about your own relatives. And that's what I like about this commission. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Steve Larson. I'm new to the commission. My background is that I was born in California. Only lived there a couple of years. My family moved to Delaware. I lived there for about 10 years. I like to tell my family and friends that I'm bi-coastal, California, Delaware. But lived there for about 10 years, moved here in 76. So I've been in Missouri for 50 years. Been in Wildwood, no historical ties here, but lived out here since 1999. So about 25, 26 years. I've spent the last 35 years as a practicing lawyer. I worked for Travelers Insurance for the last 34 years and actually just retired 3 weeks ago. So I'm looking forward to spend a lot of time with my 3 grandchildren, soon to be 4, in the pool in the backyard. We had them over this weekend and it's a lot of fun and enjoying that. My wife is still working, but I get to enjoy some early retirement. So looking forward to getting more involved with the commission now. I started as an alternate back in the fall and just recently promoted to a full commissioner status. So I'm excited and love history, love the Wildwood history, and just looking forward to getting more involved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Aishi Bure, and I'm going to be a senior in high school this upcoming school year. I was born in New Mexico, but I moved to Wildwood about like 10 years ago. And I joined this commission just because I love history and I wanted to learn more about the history of where I live.
Thank you. Thank all of you. And I think that's helpful to all of us as we move together and learn more about each other as such.
Chair Bacher, we do have one individual online, our liaison from.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jill. Tell us about yourself, Jill. We know all about you, but we always like to hear it.
Good evening, everyone. I moved to Wildwood about 48 years ago when my husband and I moved from our first house in Fenton to here. His family's been here for 190 years. So that is my interest in, that's what fed my interest in local history, is the history of Day's family. And as all 1800s families were, is that they had lots of children who married lots of other people, and the family trees get very complicated and fun to untangle. So that is the basis of my expertise, so to speak, and my interest. That's it.
Thank you, Jill, and my apologies again for skipping you.
Not a problem.
We're going to rise, and Elizabeth is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I know it from memory, from grade school, right?
Flying the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
And I hope all of you have had an opportunity to peruse at least the minutes of our most recent meeting. If there are any corrections, we'd like to hear them now. If not, they'll stand approved as they've been printed for you. Any additions or corrections to the minutes? There being none, they stand approved. And we do have some visitors this evening. We normally do not vote on the minutes unless you request that we do.
Oh, I believe that there is a provision in Robert's rules for the minutes to be approved by unanimous or
Consent. Yes.
Yep.
That's what we've been doing. And so unless someone requests a change, that's what we'll continue to do. And for public comment, do you have any cards? Do you have anyone that wants to speak?
Mr. Chair, I believe those in the audience are presenting for various items that are on the agenda.
Yes. And we especially welcome our former chairman who's taken a seat in the back row as far away as she can be, but be with us. And we're grateful. Thank you for being with us, John.
Okay, oh, if I may,
Certainly.
I don't know
Steve.
if this is a public comment or not, but I was just talking with Bob before the meeting. Several years ago, the city attorney gave us a lesson in our legal responsibilities and dangers of communication between members on the commission of what, our ethical legal requirements. And I wonder, because of so many new people on the commission, whether that would be a good thing to schedule again. So I don't know if this is the time to bring it up, or at least if we could ask Robin if you could look into that, maybe scheduling that sometime in the future.
If there's no opposition, we'll ask Robin to do that.
Yes, the department will be happy to look into the schedule.
Thank you.
Training.
We'll look forward to that happening. And there's no other public comment. Jill, I believe you're on this time as we hear what's going on with the Wildwood Historical Society.
All right. As you know, since May's your last meeting, our president, Linda Hartkamp, passed away the day prior to her being awarded the Champion of Conservancy. The Historical Society is still reeling from this situation. I'm announcing before each of our society's presentations that we're in desperate need of volunteers, and I list typical areas of types of needs. Over the past month, it's become really apparent to me as archivist, which means the protector. One of our biggest help would be somebody to become a facilities manager. That person wouldn't have to do anything except to check the status of things maybe once a month, like furnace filters and things like that, and just to let somebody know that those things need to happen. Lynn Link has previously stated that she didn't know all that Linda did until you tried to do some of it. So, and that is so true. Operationally right now, it's Lynn and myself basically handling a lot of the tasks. And usually my husband David steps in for some of this, but he's not able to do that right now. This is not a forever sustainable working model. So I will keep chatting with folks and announcing our wish list for tasks and volunteers and hope that a few people step up to help. Additionally and simultaneously, one of the casualties of the recent major wildwood storms is that the society lost our internet service through BayZT due to a non-fixable equipment issue on BayZT's end. Working with Spectrum, which will be our probable solution for this, is taking much longer than anticipated. So as of right now, we don't have any internet capabilities, but we're chugging along and figuring out how to do things. All of this is solvable one way or the other. In the long term, just short term, things are difficult. But I appreciate everyone's patience in helping us through this, and we look forward to what the future brings. Thank you.
Any comments or questions for Jill? There being none, thank you, Jill.
You're
We
welcome.
will move on to old business and
Society to share a few comments with us. Lynn Link, she is a trustee, and she shared some really nice comment that I think is important for this commission to hear as well at the last city council.
wonderful. We welcome her.
Thank you.
That's fine. Please identify yourself too, so we get your name.
some of the. What's the acre report? And businesses. Historic construct, such as Hankin House, Hankin Store, and Bethel Church, which are visible monuments. Okay. Microphone change. Which are visible monuments to the history of those who built, resided, and gathered within them. Dedication to historic preservation was enshrined by the city's founders through the establishment of the Historic Preservation Commission. Thank you to all of the dedicated citizens who have and continue to serve on it. However, a majority of the research, preservation, and dissemination of the history of the people and towns that encompass present-day Wildwood and even adjacent areas like Sherman and Jedburgh outside of the city's borders has and will continue to be done by a group of devoted volunteers, not part of our city's government. The Wildwood Historical Society is a 501c3 nonprofit corporation staffed solely by volunteers and funded by memberships as well as continued private donations from a diverse group of people. I wanted to thank the city for acknowledging the efforts and members of our trustees, Jill Von Gruben and the late Linda Camp. As a member and trustee, I've witnessed Jill's extraordinary talent and dedication in her endless time spent with research, preservation, dissemination of our history, including authoring many books. Like Jill said, even though I saw Linda on a regular basis at the Historical Society, I never fully realized how much work she did on a continuous basis until recently, trying to do just a fraction of it. Linda's family asked that donations be sent in lieu of flowers to Wildwood Historical Society. Jill once told me that the first time she met her husband Dave's family, who, like she said, their family's been here for over 190 years, she found out that most of the people who lived here were all somehow related to each other. Linda's own ancestry is evidence of this as well. She was first cousin to our trustees, Richard Hart and Marilyn Etherton Weber, is also a distant relative of our trustee, Sandra Becker Gurnow, and also a descendant of both the Portners and the Bouquet families. And Linda once instructed me that it is pronounced Pertner and Bucket. And so I found out that you are a descendant of the Pertners.
Yes.
Her endless dedication and time spent at Wildwood Historical Society helps ensure the stories of these amazing people who came before us are not forgotten. While Linda's family ancestry is a multi-lineage, multi-generational part of our history, her countless hours spent volunteering, along with all the efforts of the other Wildwood Historical Society members, past and present, help to ensure that this treasured history is not lost. It really says a lot about our community that so many people whose ancestors came to our area more than a century ago still call Wildwood home, and we are part of preserving its history. To anyone who may be watching later on a YouTube video who is not familiar with the WHS, you can contact us at wildwoodhistoricalsociety.org to schedule a visit of our historic property located at 18750 Highway 100, where the original alignment of historic Route 66 once passed through the Hollow neighborhood. There you can see the history of our area and the amount of dedication of our volunteers in our library, museum, our circa 1852 farmhouse, and our meeting hall, where we host monthly events free to the public with authors and speakers, generally on the third Tuesday of the month at 7 p.m. In order to continue this vital work, we need more volunteers to do everything from general maintenance to archiving donated items, and we need continuing private donations in any amount.
Like me, many of our donors, volunteers, and members have no ancestral history in our area, but we feel a calling to tangibly help preserve history. Member Joyce Mercer is also a member of the St. Louis Genealogical Society and has devoted countless hours over the past decades researching our local history and is now researching and mapping our historic family cemeteries, many of which have been lost over time. Members Ellen Reichert and Doris Keevan Franke, while doing historical research for projects for the city, rely on our library of local information, which was researched and archived by our members. Doris and Ellen know that our library houses specific local history, some of which may not be available anywhere else. I want to invite everyone to become a member of the Wildwood Historical Society. Whether you live in Wildwood or just want to be a tangible part of preserving history by making a tax-deductible donation, becoming a member, or volunteering at the Wildwood Historical Society, you become a part of our amazing history too. Again, you can contact us at wildwoodhistoricalsociety.org. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other comments that we want to include? Now we'll go on to old business. And we'll hear of what's happening with the Essen Log Cabin. For those of you that don't know, Joe is on vacation. So we welcome Joe's replacement. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, members of this commission, we've got a little bit of a malfunction going on with our regular microphone, so hopefully everyone can hear me online okay. But I'm going to stand in for Joe tonight on some of his items, and that includes the most recent update we have in regards to the Essen Log Cabin. Now, as you may remember, at our last meeting, we had selected a contractor and we're prepared to move forward with them. However, it has come to the department's attention by its city attorney. It has been advised that given some discrepancies in the procedure in selecting these bidders, it would be best if we went back and rebid the project. So unfortunately, we are back to rebidding the project. We're going to go forward very quickly with that over the next week. And we hope that it will not delay it any more than it would have been given timelines with the Village Green and Celebrate Wildwood. However, this is in our best interest. It's a fair process and that the best bid does get selected.
So what happened with the original contract guy?
In the document.
Yeah, you have a memorandum regarding what happened. But yes, as we were proceeding forward with the contract for this bidder, it was advised by the city attorney that given some of his observations, it's best if we went back to it. So that's what we're doing.
Question.
Pardon me? Yes.
A question of Ms. Keefe. I didn't know the protocol.
Sure.
Thank you. Ms. Keefe, asking in public, is it appropriate to request a copy of the bid package with all types of considerations for confidentiality and non-disclosure, all that stuff aside? I would not dare unless it was appropriate. I've got a career in contracting, and I'm not going to ask who developed and assembled the bid package or who developed and assembled the last bid package. But I'd just like to know that if I don't find out what consultant or what internal departmental talent and skill put that together, just pour over it and and just get one more set of eyes on it. I got lots of decades of experience at it in this type of civil work. The new one, yeah.
The bid schedule will be available for the general contracting community on Monday, June 30th. So that would be this coming Monday. If you were able to spend the weekend, potentially putting together some comments, we could stick with that timeline. Otherwise, I think we would have to move that timeline back. So that's my.
Please, and I'd love to pour over it over coffee, and after I become bored watching those grandkids play in the pool. Can take 8 or 10 hours of that a day. Then they make you get in and play with them.
I'm happy to forward the bid package to you. If you just.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Additionally, I should note that when we do rebid the project, the department, in the interest of potentially saving the city money, is asking for 3 add alternates as well, including the use of manufactured stone to screen the new pour-in foundation walls for the cabin, the substitution of a manufactured type feeder shape tapered shingle versus a natural wood pipe, and the replacement of the natural stone for use to access the cabin with pavers that now form the exterior area of the Civic Oval. So all these would be add alternates. And we're also receiving some feedback from Pattern Eye regarding.
Yes, I would encourage all of the members to be sure and read the document. It's just a one-page document dated June 26th that you find in your folder, which clearly explains why this is happening in a very articulate way, I believe, so that we are aware. Because I'm sure other people may ask us some questions about this. And this is just basic information, but it's very good information.
Thank you. Do you have any other questions of the department at this time?
If I may, this will be also advertised for anybody to bid on it.
That's correct.
Oh.
Any other questions? There being none, we will move on. I believe you're still at the podium.
Yes, but if you will, I have put together some presentation slides, so it'll take me just a minute to get it on the screen.
Us.
And I brought some banana bread. Y'all help yourselves to that. I did not put napkins out there, though. There you go.
All right, Mr. Chair, members of this commission. As you are aware, we are knee deep now in our historic preservation plan process, and things are getting real. So this week, I have been working very hard with Marsha Boyle, our project manager from MIG, to put together an open house and a series of focus groups for our planning efforts. This will take place on Thursday, July 24th and Friday, July 25th. I would like to go over that itinerary with you, and included in your memorandum are also a list of people to invite to these focus groups. So if you'd like to take a look, I would certainly love your feedback regarding that list. So on July 24th, We're going to start with a tour, historic tour of Wildwood with MIG. This is going to be carried out mostly by department staff. However, if any of you would like to participate in some of that narrative history component, not looking at you too hard, Mr. Scott. You are certainly welcome to ride along in our air-conditioned vehicles for this historic tour and help share the history of the area. Again, that tour will happen from 9 to noon. If you're interested in participating, please let me know. Our first focus group of the day or of the 2 days will be our regional stakeholders group. And this will take place that afternoon, and it will take place virtually. And so this is where we reach out to all of our regional friends. So the Missouri Humanities Council, the Missouri History Museum, Great Rivers Greenway, those types of stakeholders. And since they are all over the place and potentially statewide, we decided a virtual focus group with those stakeholders would do that. So that's who we're meeting with then. Now, particularly relevant to you, because this is where you begin to get to be very encouraged to participate, is our Historic Preservation Plan open house, which is planned for that evening, 5:30 to 7. A presentation of the Historic Preservation Plan effort will be given by MIT. They're working on a series of interactive boards, collecting input. We're hoping to have a lot of commissioners there to have conversations with people. And we're going to send out quite a few postcards for this open house. It's going to be advertised in the e-newsletter, in our spotlights, social media. We're going to send postcards to the 1,300 property owners, business owners, residents, et cetera, along Route 66. We're going to send it out to all of our historic property owners, to all of our Wildwood business owners. There's a few, all of our churches and our schools and our organizations. So that's my list for postcards. If you have any other ideas, please let me know. But we are hoping to make this historic preservation plan house well attended. Following the open house, we're going to have our regular meeting of this commission. So that will start at 7:15. And this is a very important meeting for you to attend because you're essentially going to be our 6th focus group. So this is your opportunity to really have some intensive input into the plan visioning and process. So please do show up for that regular open house. So that's Thursday. Does anyone have any questions for me for Thursday? Okay. Friday's itinerary is as follows, and this isn't super relevant to you because we aren't inviting you to all these focus groups. And the reason we're not inviting you is because we actually want to keep the group as small as possible while getting the most diverse viewpoint. So while we do want your input, and while we're happy to share all the notes from those focus groups, adding another 10 people into the mix is probably not our best bet for getting that worthwhile input. But I did want you to know what's happening. So we are partnering with the Wildwood Historical Society on this, and we're going to host these focus groups in the meeting hall. I felt it best to get out of City Hall for some focus groups and meet people where they're at. The first one of the day will be with our historic property owners. So we'll send notice to a collection, particularly our Wildwood historic landmarks, both registered and non-registered, because obviously we have a lot of informal landmarks that maybe don't have that recognition. But I've assembled a list for you to look through. Our second group will focus on African American heritage and Indigenous heritage. And that's actually a pretty lengthy list of folks as well. Following that will be our Route 66 group. That will bring in a large number of stakeholders, and then ending the day will be a Wildwood Historical Society focused group on with their membership. And we'll also make sure that our MIT get the tour of the Wildwood Society Museum. So that's our plan for Friday. If you have any questions regarding the focus group and what that's going to look like. Again, we do plan to obviously share hopefully extensive notes regarding with you. So you will have an opportunity to comment and discuss. But I just wanted to be aware that that's going on, and I'd certainly welcome your input on our focus group lists that are in your this evening. Thank you. Any questions? All right, then I'm going to return to a previous discussion. We had this last month, but I'm going to ask the same question again because we have some new faces. And also I told you that this question would haunt the agenda until at least our July meeting, when hopefully all of this will start culminating into some feedback for the plan. What is your vision for the historic preservation program for the next 10 to 15 years? What does that look like to you? Like when you think about preserving Wildwood history, are you thinking buildings? Are you thinking youth engagement? Are you thinking interpretive signage? What especially floats to the top of your mind about what is historic preservation? What is worth preserving here in this city?
You're asking for discussion from our group at this moment in time.
Yes, I am.
Well, like I said, last month, I've been getting the community more involved in knowing about the history, like having our presence at our events over the summer where they can actually, oh, wow, look, there's a Historic Preservation Commission. You know, some people may not even know we existed. And then just, you know, Mr. Scott telling them a bunch of history about things that, you know, he's familiar with, and then us doing different things. I think that's all brought more attention to it, and I think that will continue to bring more attention to it.
Anyone else?
Bob.
Bob?
I see my notes from last month where I mentioned the historic markers. I stop at every new one I find, and I think there's only 7 of them in there. I may have found them all. 9. I'll be out looking. The one especially for Orville, I live a spit from there, but then the one for Westland Acres and several others. I'd like to see 50 more of them. And it sounds like there's at least half that we already know could be devised and plunked out there on the road, different places. The more of them they see, the more people will be aware that there's 25 of these things. I saw 1 or 2 that I drive near. That just communication, just visibility says a lot. Getting people in the habit of looking at our city's website, that's quite a pull. I've seen evidence of quite a bit of improvement in the organization, the flow, and the compartmentalization of information that makes a little more sense than what I've seen in the past. I've heard some pretty pointed remarks when I bring up the website in the years that I've lived here, especially since I've become more involved in the city. So seeing that improvement and that attempts at better organization really pay off. People still don't look at the website for the value it brings. Just today, I was replying in an email, and this has nothing to do with historic preservation, but the more people get in the habit of doing anything for any reason, they'll keep in that habit for new reasons. I sent the questionnaire that had been sent out that I responded to. I sent that. There was a deadline of midnight Saturday night for anybody who wanted to reply to it. So I sent that out under separate cover to all 18 residents in the subdivision that I'm trustee for. I got responses back from 4 of those 18. Nothing back from the other 14. One of the 14 is another trustee, or was just recently. I don't even know how to answer any of these questions. I was raised in North County. As though that means anything about anything for any reason. I was raised in North County. But I sure took that survey and I dealt with it with a accord that I think it deserved. Another responded back, I wouldn't even know where to start. I haven't been to any of these places that are being described. So they go to work and they come home and they spend their entire life somewhere besides Wildwood, apparently. Third one said, that was really pretty interesting. Both my wife and I took it separately and then compared notes with it later. And that's an old retired couple from Ladue that bought a nice place. And then the fourth one, I'm trying to remember the fourth one. Oh, they ended up taking it, but it came in quite a bit after the deadline. So it might have even been received because you might have fibbed about the deadline. I don't know. But that's 4 out of 14, pretty poor showing to begin with. And then only one of those 4 with a proactive or a productive reply. That really struck me as great examples of what you're fighting. Everybody's got a life. They're not only too busy with that other life, but they're focused on being too busy with that other life to get involved in anything. You gotta entice them. You can try to shame them. You can bribe them with something, or you can cajole them, or you can just get their curiosity up so that they put down the Facebook for 5 minutes to go look at something else for that 5 minutes. So that's just my rambling.
Maybe we could do a Facebook page.
Steve, you may.
Okay. As an architect, obviously, my vision is on buildings and preserving the buildings we have, the historic buildings we have, which we are losing. And in a as we speak, we are in the middle of losing buildings. So I hope that this preservation program can save these buildings. Where I think it's most effective is the Route 66 corridor. Along there, it is pretty much unique as a image of a country, as it was Route 66 back in the 30s, a country highway which stands around it, little houses, and I think you're not going to get residential development along there. It's going to be commercial. And I think we've got to show the possibilities of this to different businesses or people, commercial type of clients who would want to open a shop, a gift shop, a restaurant, something like that. So, and I think that's what we need to look at and emphasize. I think that'd be the most effective way to approach it. We can keep people interested in preserving their homes, and if they have an historic residence, and I think when we visited people, they're interested in preserving their homes when they want to make modifications. But I think we could very well lose so many of the little cottages along Route 66 if we don't do something about it, and that sets the image up of the whole road. So that's what I see as my vision for the next 10, 15 years.
Yes.
Are you going to buy them out? are we going to subsidize all of their expenses to get a legal first crack at purchasing it when they either depart this earth or go to a nursing home? What is our attack plan on saving these little houses that we see left? And I have to imagine there were hundreds times more of them in decades past.
Yeah, I think when people go to sell, that I think if we can bring to them possible buyers, and that would be our economic development director of the city, that could bring these economic opportunities to these people and bring a shop owner together with somebody who wants to sell their little cottage. I'm not saying the city should buy anything or do anything like that. Or I think we just need to bring these people together and promote it. So somebody who wants to open a restaurant would see, yes, there's a market here for this. And here, this is a house or this is a building that I could use. And I think that's happening. That's just the new brewery that just opened up. They saw the possibility and they invested in it. And I think there's other things, but somebody's got to get out there and find the businesses and promote this so people see this as a place they want to be. And I think there's a great interest in people who will want to drive Route 66 through this area.
Rob?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what Steve said. I think we need to get a handle on what we have. There are two stretches of, to me, the original routing of Route 66, because that was the road when I was a kid. There's the stretch that includes Schatz, what was Schatz Garage and so on and so forth. But there's nothing but old, evocative, if not truly historic places all along that little section of road. And the other part is at Fox Creek Vet, when you turn onto Old Manchester, that's the way it always was. That's the original road. And there was a boys' home up in there, and the house is still there. It's, restored, and it's a house now, and so on and so forth. We should get a handle on that. But I agree with Steve. Those are two very cool, like it used to be, parts of Route 66. And I don't know that we have it all that well marked, other than the highway department having marked it historic Route 66. But if we could play up that with our historical markers or something, I don't know what we would do, but here's this is the original Route 66. Folks, go this way if you want to see a half mile of what it used to be like. I think we can do a lot with that. So anyway, that's my thought.
Yes.
So, excuse me. As someone new, and not having all the experience that you've all had here, I'm going to come in with a slightly different angle. And this is really in reference to marketing what we have. We are so fortunate to have such a rich history here in this city. And I know you all know that, but to be able to promote that and also to keep it ongoing and finding ways to keep that history alive to the citizens. And I know how busy they are, because I used to be one extremely busy. And I know it's hard to get their attention. But I think if we do a little bit of just talking and really coming up with ideas that we think in the long term, maybe in the short term to try out, but also in the long term to keep going. I think it's a real possibility to at least engage with the people in the city of Wildwood that have an interest in the history. I mean, not everybody's going to have that level of interest, but I think we can find ways to do that. So from a marketing standpoint, I think that it's a possibility. It takes a little bit of time to really work that out, but I think we could definitely do that and try it out.
Anyone else? Well, we've allotted some time to this. Is this sufficient for you? Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm just going to add a little bit what I've already heard. I think people are on the same page that I think the key is the education of the community and the involvement or the engagement. And I'm hearing that from Debbie and Bob and that's the key. And how do you do that? That's, I don't know. I think it's only going to get harder because as younger and younger families move into this area that don't know the history or maybe have no reason to care. And you know, it just gets harder and harder and the history will get lost. And I know the commission here and the city will continue to promote it. I'd like to see maybe a separate email newsletter on Wildwood history or from the commission itself or the Historic Society. That's a great way to highlight and showcase what we have here in the city. Maybe more people will get involved and be interested in that and get them engaged. I like the idea of a separate, maybe Facebook page. You know, anything to showcase what we have here, I think is the key to sort of trying to continue to promote this as we move along.
Thank you. Now, anyone else? If not, we've allotted some time for you this evening.
Thank you. I appreciate your comments this evening. We'll add them to the record. I'm sure MIG will be appreciative as they move forward into their discussion with you in July, because they'll already have some of that framing. So just lastly, I wanted to touch upon the survey results. I did share those with you in a link. So hopefully you've had an opportunity to look at how people responded to our historic preservation plan survey in depth. I've already covered most of those highlights with you at a previous meeting, so I'm not going to go into it here. Secondly, the final draft of the existing conditions report is in your packets this evening. It's not, you know, it's still editable. If you, yeah, that's a hard thing to say, especially with braces. Anyway, if you do see something that you think needs to change or that should be revised or something that needs to be included, you still have time. This is still, you know, an ongoing process. However, they did take into our comments last time and they folded it into the version. So please take a look at that. I just can't stress enough, please attend the Historic Preservation Plan open house event and the following meeting. That if you do nothing else in July, please do those things for me. And that concludes my presentation on this item. Any final questions? Thank you.
To the Underground Railroad.
Great. Mr. Chair, members of this commission, as you are aware, the city is presently working towards two National Underground Railroad Network to Freedom nominations. One pertaining to the Mount Pleasant Church and Cemetery site. That's with our United States Colored Troops Freedom Seekers who of their own agency went to enlist to earn their freedom during the Civil War. And then the second site, I'm going to turn over to the city's consultant, or Stephen Frankie, has to do with a Missouri River escape involving Archer Alexander. So I'm going to turn it over to her this evening. We're getting ready. We're very close to submitting a nomination for that one. Thank you.
Welcome and thank you for being with us tonight.
So I'm not really a loud talker, but I'll try. My name is Doris Keevan Frankie, and I want to thank you for this tonight. I've been a member of several historic preservation commissions in other cities, and I met Robin about a year ago when she asked me to consult on some German heritage. And I've been attending your meetings, and I think they are some of the greatest. You guys are great. You guys are doing really, really good. I've first knew about Wildwood as Wildwood when my grandparents moved on Old Wild Horse, Old Lost Creek, or that out in 1971. I know I wasn't even a baby then. So, and I had to address cards to my grandma, and it had to say "Hollow" on it, and I'm like, "Hollow? Why am I putting Hollow on your card?" Anyhow, as I said to Robin back then when I was talking about the Germans, because that's what I first started writing about, I said a lot of people don't think of Wildwood as very old or historic, but you guys are. The history goes back, and that's the incredible thing. So, having fought many preservation meeting programs and battles, and been part of the State Historic Preservation Office and have written National Register nominations, you guys have some great ideas in marketing and writing and education. I fought a battle for a courthouse back in the 1990s and lost that battle. And I learned one thing, though, and that is you can't expect people to save something if they don't know why, and if they don't know what they're saving and why it's historic. And with that said, I believe in the packets is the full scope of a Network to Freedom nomination, a submission. I have done several successful National Underground Railroad Network to Freedom submissions already, and have listed several other spots. And I also do a program that is listed on the National Underground Railroad on Archer Alexander. And if I wasn't so busy doing all that, I'd get the book finished that I'm working on, which is my 9th book. So with that said, I wanted to bring this to you tonight because the deadline that Robin will have to input it into her computer is July 15th. And she's going to be gone all next week. And it's 4th of July. So you've got some hot summertime reading. And if you haven't read it, please do, because you're all very, very, very familiar with this area's history. And we want to make sure that, we get it right. We've done a lot of preliminary. You'll see that it's a good 15 pages, and the bibliography could be 15 pages too. So I didn't even give her that yet. So please take a look at it. And if you have any questions or comments or suggestions, there is a format, and this has already been reviewed a couple of times. That's why it's called Draft 3. But I wanted all of you, because you're also very knowledgeable, I wanted all of you to have an opportunity. That's why I asked Robin to be tonight. So has anybody already taken the time to read it or review it in your packets and have any questions?
Just parts of it. I have.
Parts of it, yeah. Okay. The book is much bigger. This is only
For reading.
a small portion of the story. I'm going to give you my cards, and on the back of the card is my email address. So over the next week, if you'll take the time, if you have any comments, please feel free to reach out via email. That's the best way. And let me know your questions. And let me know if you have a comment or something that you may know that I don't know yet, and I'd like to know or need to know. And I have a question of all of you tonight. Does anyone know of a map that exists that Lynn and I have been talking about this, and I know Ann too. A map that exists that actually shows Bellefontaine. It would be approximately where Thornhill is, Long and Chesterfield Road, in that kind of area. And we have some suspicions of some connection with this story in that area. So does anybody know of a map that actually shows it?
What era?
I'm talking about 1820, right about that time of statehood, anything from 1814 to maybe by time of the Civil War, but probably, I don't know. It's referred to, but nobody seems to, other than say where it is, I haven't seen it delineated on a map yet. And so, and even on the 1857 plat map that I have, it doesn't exist on there either. It would have been along Olive Street Road, the Plank Road, Old Olive Street. Bellefontaine one?
There was a Bellefontaine shed or horse shoeing operation or something of a shop nature on the corner of Olive and what became Chesterfield Outer Road, where it's where the restaurant is now that flooded from a broken sprinkler and then was vacant for a decade and now got changed into a second restaurant. And it's across from a gas station. It's across from another gas station, and it's across the street from Monsanto or Pfizer or one of those big giant companies that just built a office complex. But that had that on there, and I could swear it was affiliated with Deerberg as well, like Deerberg Market or Deerberg horseshoeing shed or something. But that's something I recall from even before we moved out here, just driving around the areas, my wife and I in the 70s.
But you've not seen a map?
Not a map, just I know that shed had Bellefontaine written on it.
As you say with markers, and I hope that eventually when this is finished, there will be a marker at the site. And, and preserving these sites is that markers can actually share with the public exactly what you just said. And sometimes there's not a map in existence, but with the National Underground Railroad, with this going on that listing, you will be part of a national map of the National Park Service with over 800 little dots. And that gets the awareness out even a little bit further. Now, I know where you mean. My grandparents' last house was right across from where Chesterfield Mall was, and you would not recognize it anymore whatsoever. I understand what you're talking about. And that is about the correct kind of area. And a lot of times, like Westland Acres, these kind of places only have a word referring to them and have come down through history and families and places in such a way that they no longer exist on a map. But just like you say, somebody called it that. So any other questions or comments or additions?
You were looking for a map, and I don't know if she can help, but the last meeting of the Historical Society had her name, Gwen, the historian.
Gwen.
Yeah, and I think
and
she knows a lot about that, and the Faust Park and all that, but okay, so that would be good. Oh, okay, sorry.
I'm going to give you all my cards. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. The park group. Update on the Portner Park. Oh, Joe's replacement.
I don't think Joe's exactly replaceable, but I'll try to live up to it.
And we're very grateful that you're here tonight. Thank you.
the commission, I would like to thank you for letting me make a guest appearance here tonight. And just wanted to give you a bit of background on Partner Park and where we're at in the process now. I will provide a little more information than I originally anticipated because we have a few people here that may or may not be as familiar with the park. So in regards to Partner Park, it took us a little while to get the ad hoc group put together, but they sure have made up for it since. It basically, there was a piece of property donated to the city back in 2019, accepted by the city in 2020 by Joanna Yost that had a number of restrictions on it that included it had to be free of charge, maintained as an undeveloped wildlife refuge, and preserved for the purposes of things like picnicking, bird watching, hiking, and fishing. It couldn't be used for hunting, shooting, things of those nature. That it remained in its natural state, and that its name was Partner Park. Partner, not Portner. So that being said, the group came together. The first meeting was in December, and the department provided a bunch of background information that included descriptions of the site, and it has some interesting terrain, and it's got 2 ponds, which is pretty unique for this site, and we don't have ponds at our other parks. So it's a really pretty property. And after that, we provided them these restrictions as well, and took a field trip out to the property in January on a nice brisk morning. And even in January, the property is beautiful, are less thick, so it wasn't all bad. The site is currently not developed. It was the site of a single family home, but that home has since been demolished. It wasn't in a condition that we could keep it. There are a few outlying structures there, one known as the bank barn, and then a couple others, a chicken coop and some sheds. At any rate, the bank barn, we were hoping that we would be able to salvage, but it turns out that it's not structurally sound, so that will have to come down as well. But we are going to do what we can to salvage those materials and either reuse them in this park or reuse them in other facilities in Wildwood. But we are a big fan of keeping and repurposing. So that will be done. And the commission, I'm sure, will be a part of that part of the process. So from January until now, the group met once a month and already had a draft master plan in May. Yeah, in May. I think the property spoke for itself a lot. I think everybody went out and visited the property, and it turns out that everybody that went to the property had the same vision that Miss Yost did. It's beautiful and wanted to keep it relatively untouched, but wanted to make it a bit, throw in a few amenities to make it comfortable. So you'll see in the master plan, the draft of the master plan, most of the property is trails, and most of those trails are just hikeable, unpaved surfaces. However, there is a parking area that you'll see located in the center that only has, I think, seven, maybe 9 parking spaces on it. And that attaches to a couple of ADA accessible paths so that go around the actual fields. And so the intent is to restore those fields to some sort of natural state, except with non-invasive plants and such. And then use this property as an educational tool, like maybe have information on signage or something like that, educates people about native plants and invasive plants, as well as the wildlife that's located on the property. And the structures that will be put there are very limited. One is a pavilion that's kind of in the general vicinity of the bank barn, but it's only large enough for 2 picnic tables. And then also there will be a dock down on the larger pond that could potentially be utilized for fishing and such. The details as to the uses that will be allowed versus not allowed are still being worked out and will be. So at any rate, the plan that you see before you is just over the budgeted amount for the park at $1.045 million, and the budgeted amount was $1 million. And that includes the restroom, pavilion, the ADA accessible parking and paths. So I think that they did a pretty good job of keeping within a budget. So that being said, the ad hoc group had hosted a open house on May 28th, and there were only about 10-ish or so people that showed up, but all the feedback that was received was incredibly positive, and it seemed that, you know, this seemed like an appropriate use to all the people that we met with. There were a few questions regarding whether you'd be able to rent the pavilion, and, you know, what would be allowed on the site. As far as the pavilion rental, it didn't seem like people felt strongly one way or the other. One of the biggest concerns was traffic, but given the limited parking and the limited size of the pavilion, I don't think that it's intended to be a rentable facility. That decision hasn't been made officially, but it doesn't seem like a great place for it. Even if you have a small family, you know, that you need more parking spaces than that because everybody drives separately. So postcards are sent out to the Ward 6 residents because this is in Ward 6. And again, there was a QR code on the postcard that took them to a story map for Partner Park. There's a link for it in your report. That was kind of a, you know, trial. We were trying something new for that one, and it was very well received. There were over 300 visits. Well, there were just under 300 at the time of the open house, but there have been over 50 since then. So I think the information has gotten out there, and I think that was part of the reason that the turnout at the open house wasn't larger. But just to take extra precaution, the group agreed to send out a separate letter to the individuals on properties that were either abutting or across the street, just to make sure none of them were actually at the open house, and just wanted to take an extra, you know, precautionary measure to make sure that they were aware and see if they had any feedback, any comments. And to my knowledge, we have not received any as of yet. So I feel like no news is good news. And we brought this before the Planning and Parks Committee last week, maybe. And they reviewed the plan and approved moving it on to City Council, provided that we don't get any feedback in between now and then. We still have one more meeting with the group, but given the lack of feedback and, you know, the entire reason for extending it was to receive feedback, it looks like this will likely move on in the current format that it is in, and hopefully we'll move forward with that. That concludes the department's presentation. It's just an update, so we don't need any action. But if the commission has any questions, the department would be happy to answer them. And that.
So how many miles of trails? They say there's, you know, trails all over in there. Like, is it all walkable or bikeable? And also, are they going to remain you said they're natural. And with this being over $1 million project, are they going to asphalt these trails? Are they going to remain natural, or?
So you can kind of see the difference, and I think they're labeled on the plan that was included in your packet and the one that's for. Many of the trails are natural. There are trails that you can see that go around the fields. Those will be paved and ADA accessible because we wanted the park to be ADA accessible. We were trying to figure out a way to get an ADA accessible ramp down to the pond, but it turns out that would require a lot of tearing up of the park in order to do so. And so it might still be investigated, but the rest of the darker lines that you see throughout there are the hiking trails. So those would be the natural trails. I don't think that they're intended for cycling. I think that they're intended just for hiking. But again, those are questions to be answered at a later date. But yes, so
What about equestrian, since they're not going to be paved?
Pardon?
Would there be a way for these to be equestrian trails as well?
I think that the regulations as to the uses will be determined at a later date, but I think that the group was leaning more towards having them just for hiking as opposed to for equestrian or cycling.
Right.
This park is about 27 acres, which I think is comparable to the community park. But it's the terrain is really hilly in a lot of it. So it was hard to make it any more ADA accessible than it already is without walls and such. But yes.
Thank you. A quick question. Is the boundary of the park going to have is going to be marked? Some of those trails come pretty close to, looks like the boundary of the property itself. Just curious if there's going to be marked or any kind of low maintenance fence line just to keep people from hopefully not wandering off onto other private property.
There will to the south, or I think it is there, was left for potential connection to Greensfelder because it's so close to Greensfelder Park and there's only one property in between those two. And I don't think it's developed. And so if we get access connected in some meaningful way, I think that would be excellent. But yeah, I assume that we will mark the property.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So you mentioned that I'm an equestrian, so I'm always leaning towards this. You mentioned that there's a potential connection to Greensfelder Park, and that is an equestrian park. So what would happen if people are riding in Greensfelder? Can they ride into this area? Are they going to be, bordered, have some kind of signage that says no horses allowed? Or?
I think that it would have to, if it is not going to be an equestrian facility, then yes, it would have to be marked as such.
Right. Yeah, because if it is connecting, then there should be some absolute marking so people know not to ride in there.
Absolutely.
And if I may, I think these trails are going to be quite narrow, very modest. So I think obviously they are not for horses. They're not for bicycles. So, and right now, there will be no connection to Greensfeld. I think that is the intent, that we would like to have that someday, but right now, what's important, I think, is we get the cost of this is a problem, but we get something there that we can open and let people in there, let them get down to the lake, let them drive and park off of Hinken and use the park. So just a modest trails. I mean, the other things, the structures would be nice. Probably a portable toilet is essential, but as little as we can, but get the park open so people can see it. I think from what we've seen, is there's interest from hikers in that park. So
is this going to be another bid job? Because, one over $1 million seems pretty extreme to me for a small structure. And it's just, I don't know. Money nowadays just flows like water, but
it really does.
It's just, I look at this and I go, $1 million.
Yeah, the cost of construction it's just been ridiculous. But that also includes a restroom facility.
Yes.
And there's more paving there than you realize.
Yeah.
And there's also some grading that will have to take place. And so, yes, we're going to have the engineered drawings created and then send that out to bid.
Yeah. Yeah. And now I'm sorry, again, we're talking about some of this building supplies that we're saving from other properties that I know are being stored away. And I see these pictures of the benches and stuff. Are these the hopes of maybe using some of this historic stuff from some of our buildings that we've taken down to use this stuff?
So the furniture that's shown there are just kind of samples of like a natural earthy kind of structure. If we're able to use wood from the bank barn, then yes, we would. Although I don't know that that's going to be a possibility, just because I don't know that it will weather well. But I believe that there are probably going to be trees that are going to have to be taken down just to create the view from the pavilion. clear that out a bit. And if that's the case, then, we could potentially reuse those for some of like the natural furniture.
And now you're talking about the trees, and we have this Grand Oaks law. I mean, we're gonna try to
We will
just be careful with what massive trees we take down in this project.
absolutely. The city's consultant has already kind of taken that into consideration with the location of the pavilion, so that there might be a couple of large trees that need to be taken down, but we'll be clearing as little as possible just to make it a better view.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Route 66, and you're back at the podium.
Well, I'm going to share the spotlight on this one because Assistant Director Ripito has been working on many of the wayfinding and banner components of our Route 66 celebration. But to update you, at the last meeting of the Wildwood Celebration Commission, the commission members were offered 3 options by the department for helping us to celebrate and promote Route 66 and its anniversary. One of those options was to adorn a polo shirt with special recognition to Route 66 in terms of like an emblem or badge in the sleeve, along with the Wildwood 30-year anniversary logo. I promise that is not to scale. It's not going to look like Superman. It's going to be more typical of our usual, like, small over the heart. But I couldn't get it to shrink anymore. I was playing with it. It was taking too much time already. But anyway, they did endorse this. So we are looking to have a special shirt done in celebration of the anniversary that. Secondly, I will turn it over to Assistant Director Ripito to talk about the wayfinding and banner.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. What you see on the screen right now is some wayfinding signage that has been previously approved. The couple of signs that you see that are the more permanent signage, one would be at 109 and Route 66, Manchester, and then the other one would be where it intersects 100. And so these signs have been approved and we're working on getting them engineered and installed. Same with the banner. The banner is kind of an effort to do a placemaking effort and have Route 66 more noticeable. You drive through like Maplewood, Missouri, you can see all of just get your kicks on Route 66 banners. And so it was kind of to bring some recognition to that strip of Wildwood. So that being said, since we already had this in place and approved, we were looking to move forward with it. I thought that in addition to just doing, 2026 anniversary banners, that we could do something that complemented the already approved banner and then order both and kind of stagger them along the way, or hang them next to each other on the double banner poles. So we came up with this that you see up here that says "Get your kicks in 2026, celebrating 100 years of Route 66." And so I think that the two next to each other will be very complementary. After discussing it with Director Vunich, I believe that we're looking towards putting banners around the roundabout. I don't know how I forgot the word roundabout in Wildwood. But banners around the roundabout there. So there would be 2 on each, like facing each street. And then also adding some down in the historic pond area. And then a couple of them right there at Etherton and Manchester. And they would be some of these as well as some of the regular ones. So that way after 2026, we can still utilize the regular Route 66 banners. And so I think we were talking about ordering 18 banners in all. And so but that concludes my part of this presentation, but I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Yes, Bob.
There was mention made earlier about the other old Manchesters besides just the main drag. Depending on how much these banners cost or what other means there would be to get free promotion of those added sections that might accumulate up to a mile's worth of additional casual driving. If signs could be put at the corners of 100 and where those old Manchesters are, make them bigger, which would entice people to go, what's this old Manchester doing here? We better drive up this thing. And do that in this, seems to me like there's 3 or 4 of these tangents that run off, some of them north. Well, maybe 2 or 3 of them running north of 100, where the majority of the other ones run south.
Are you referring to the banners or to the wayfinding signage?
Everything.
Everything.
Any way we can get free mileage out of those other old Manchesters. And they may not have quaint businesses on them, and they may not look like 150-year-old subdivisions anymore. But somebody's going to drive down there, and when they drive that extra distance and go off 100 and then come back down onto 100, they'll say there's more to this Route 66 through this Wildwood city than we imagined. But just driving the old main drag from where it dead ends on the west over to town center.
They're kind of
Not so much that then. Big giant banners during the celebration.
down by Living Word Church. And so part of the problem is not having anywhere to hang them. And if you're on top of that, we have banner brackets from Etherton to Taylor on Route 66 already because of the Hometown Hero banners. And so that's easy. But when it comes to beyond Taylor, like beyond the roundabout, we don't have any brackets existing. And so there'd be an additional cost in putting the brackets up for the banners. And then same thing with if you go west of Etherton, we don't have any brackets along there. And so it'll be the cost of the banners and the cost of the brackets. We could theoretically, like we could do it from where 100 intersects Manchester to 109. But beyond that, we're lacking any kind of light posts or anything to affix them to until you get down to.
Just spitballing here, but I'd be looking at rental outfits that have temporary extendable poles that go up in the air for just this reason, just celebratory functions, just to know if such a thing even exists. Because if I thought of it, someone's doing it. Or you could get a property owner to get permission and pay him to nail it to a tree on their property. At any means at all to cheat and figure out how to get the word out. You could rent a trailer and put it on the back of the trailer for the 2 weeks of the celebration.
That is definitely something that we can look into further. These were going to be starting, this year and then go throughout 2026, I believe. And so
this really would be for only the area west of Glencoe Post Office. The piece of Manchester that dies there or folds back into 100 from the south, and then whatever other couple of few run on down toward, I guess Hollow is the last place you see in Old Manchester.
it was, and so it tends to be easier, which is part of the reason. But I think that's. I think putting Route 66 on the map is a good thing, period. The entirety of it. Just a matter of. Questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
I did skip over the second option presented to the Celebration Commission, and that was to invite the Route 66 Association of Missouri to celebrate Wildwood free of charge to promote its organization and history. I also wanted to provide you an update on our Route 66 magazine initiative. City Council did pass a resolution in support and committing to this partnership with Leader Publications. So we are moving forward on this project as well. I have informed them that we're in. It sounds like all the other communities are in as well. That's Eureka with it. And we'll be moving forward, I assume, pretty shortly here in July. Okay. And then finally, I did want to touch base with you on our Route 66 historic marker. We've discussed at length how those historic markers do bring history to life for people. And we are in the process of developing a new one. And we have approved the language that's on the screen here. For the past few meetings, we've been trying to choose a location for it. And we finally narrowed it down to Big Chief Roadhouse and several possible locations in close proximity to it. Well, I'm happy to report that we did sit down with the owner, and the owner is supportive of having the historic marker at the restaurant. So we can move forward on in drafting an agreement with Big Chief on this and move forward with this location. Any questions? All right, well, that concludes the department's presentation on Route 66. Moving forward. Oh, I guess I had the next step, but I've gone over these next steps. I am in the process of requesting drawings and cost estimates from both Arch Engraving and Graphics architectural signage. There's a little bit of a hiccup in terms of who owns the design of our historic markers, because as you know, we try to do identical markers all throughout the city. So I'm working that out before I bring you back a recommendation in terms of who to go with. But we hope to move forward shortly so we can start promoting these drawings at our open house and community events and public engaged, and hopefully have a marker in place by the end of this year.
We're up to the conference.
Mr. Chair, members of this commission, at our last meeting, I presented to you a session proposal having to do with why the youth are the key, an intergenerational approach to historic preservation in Wildwood, Missouri. We had an all-star team lineup, and I think that ultimately led to us being chosen to present it. So we will have quite the crew there come October. Again, the conference dates are October 1st through the 3rd. We'll have Commissioner Broyles with us, our former chair Stevens, Avu Raguraman, and Ayushi Foray. Thank you for finally bringing that into my radar. Also, Nolan Myers has expressed interest as well. He was our previous youth liaison to this commission. And we'll also have Bonnie Roy and Scott Rundy from SWT Design. So we'll have a full panel, and I have to get to work on figuring out how to organize that. But it should be a good session, and we do encourage you to attend the conference since it's in St. Louis, and throw us your support. Thank you.
You say in St. Louis, do you know where?
I do not know where yet. I didn't see that information on their website. Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Continue.
Okay, I will continue. All right, so next we have our work program update. And while I've certainly been giving you plenty of updates, we do have 3 more that I'd like to touch base with you on. One, we have, as you're aware, we are presently working on our master plan update with a group of citizens involved in its oversight. Presently, we are working on the environmental element of the plan, but we are shortly to move forward to the planning element. And as part of that planning element, we'll be folding in considerations for historic preservation. And so at the next master plan update meeting, we've invited MIG to give a short presentation to those members about our historic preservation plan. So that they can have that information as they go into that discussion. So I did want to just touch base on that. That next meeting will be Tuesday, July 22nd. Interesting. Secondly, we do have some news actually with our United States Colored Troop historic marker. As you may be aware, some of you may not. This commission has been working for a couple of years now on developing a historic marker that both recognizes Madison Valley, or formerly Old Slave Road, and the history of that location, and also recognizes the local men in this area who served as part of the United States Troop. In fact, we've named them all on the historic marker. This commission did look at several locations around Wildwood and ultimately decided the best location for the marker would be in Babbler State Park, along an area adjacent to a future greenway that's being developed with Great River. So we had those conversations with the park. Everybody was excited to tell this untold story, and then bureaucracy took over. So we've been stalled for some time now. Well, I'm happy to report that this morning I was at Great Rivers Greenway at a partner meeting for the future Western Greenway that will go through Babbler State Park. And Greg Combs, who is the regional director for Missouri State Park, was very excited about our historic marker, which was great to hear, and really sold it as the signature piece along the Western Greenway. So with that framing, we went into the discussion, and everybody's very excited about our history efforts. They're excited about the history of the park. They're also excited about our future African American Heritage Trail and how there will be a connection to Babbler State Park and this marker, and potentially into the Monarch Chesterfield Levee Trail area as well. I spoke about our Network for Freedom nomination, and I got a lot of cards, a lot of excitement. So it's all good news. It sounds like we put our projector to sleep, but we'll bring it back to life, I promise. In fact, Ms. Rippleto will work on that. But it does look like Babbler State Park continues to be the appropriate location for a marker. We just have to be patient. And hopefully it will be a real highlight in the park once it's finally installed. So any questions regarding that? It's quite a feat to have the greenway become. Yes, it is very exciting for those of you who may not be as aware of what we're trying to accomplish. We're essentially trying to accomplish connecting, northern Wildwood through Babbler State Park, like all the way down to our Al Foster area. So I mean, that's a really huge greenway for people, and it would be really a highlight of this entire region, I would think, once it if it finally comes to life.
Now, are they supporting the financial part of that greenway?
Yes, I believe so. I believe so. All those. And there are no federal funds, I can confirm, because that came up in the discussion. Okay, so my third, oh, thank goodness you brought that up, because I would have forgotten JP Connell House. My third update that I just wanted to touch upon is the JP Connell House. That is under contract, and they're looking to close in the near future. And so again, the Wildwood Property Sanctuary ultimately decided to purchase this property, and it looks like they're successful in that, and that means we have saved the JP Connell House.
That's great.
So,
And Ms. Keefe,
yes.
I don't mind expressing my ignorance. What is the Wildwood Property Sanctuary? Cities going out and buying property?
Wildwood Property Sanctuary is I would call them a nonprofit to the city. It is housed under the Fabricators Foundation, and which awards grants to different initiatives. Carl Essen and John Phillips have been spearheading. They have been showing up at all of our meetings. They've been engaging around the Essen Lawn Cabin project. They've been very interested in saving historic properties in Wildwood. Several months back, they approached the city and its economic development manager and said, hey, we're interested in finding a property in Wildwood where we can have a gallery of historic artifacts, and we can engage in efforts to save Wildwood's history and, perhaps do more projects like the Essen Lawn Cabin. And so we shared with them the JP Connell House property, and they were very excited about it. And of course, that was right at the time when we thought it was lost. And so they are looking to raise the funds to completely restore the house and use it for their purposes as this.
Amazing. Thank you.
I believe so. Yeah, it was just that one property, but yes, I believe it's the whole property. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's fantastic news. They have a lot of ideas. So the department is interested in being a partner to the Wildwood Property Sanctuary. So we've been sitting in on fairly frequent check-ins with them to see progress. And ultimately, we will, assuming that they pursue historic landmark status, there is a little bit of in our code with the historic land use category, and do some creative things there with them to help and incentivize and ensure that it's feasible to preserve. Any questions regarding any of the items on the work program tonight?
Being none, you may continue.
All right, we've already discussed it a little bit, but we did have a wonderful location not too long ago. Mr. Scott invited us to his home. It was actually a beautiful day when we arrived to set up. And in fact, there was just this real mystical quality to forest. It was between rain. Very green. And then just as the clock hit 5:30 and everyone started arriving, that's when the rain came down. Magical.
I didn't realize I could get 50 people on my front porch. out of the rain, but they were all fit and it. Yeah. Oh, it was great.
Very nice day.
It's really neat to meet his whole family. Again, we all met on the porch and took shelter from the rain. Our mayor introduced the proceedings. Council Liaison Rambo talked a little bit about growing up in this area. Our chair discussed the Wildwood Historic Landmarks Program and introduced that. And then Mr. Scott gave us a wonderful history of his house and had everyone enthralled. Mr. Scott's sons installed the historic plaque. These are our 4 presenters at the moment. Here are all of our commission members who showed up at the event. Nina Hayes also came, and she was a former owner, or she was the daughter of the.
She is the daughter of the farmer owner, the Bergmans, who she sent me some pictures they took of the house before they moved in. But she lives on Melrose, but she said she never lived here. She had just graduated from high school, so she went away to college, but her parents moved into the house.
Mr. Scott and his son.
I'm very proud of those 3 sons. And they're all taller than me. That's my great grandson. And my granddaughter that's Arthur, his grandfather on the left, and his mother, my granddaughter, Sydney, on the right.
His guest.
Yes.
From our student task force.
And Nolan has grown since I last saw
You would
him.
recognize it.
For those of you who missed it, Nolan actually sat through our entire last meeting. And I had no idea. He came up to me after the meeting and, started talking, and I had no idea who I was. But once he said it, then it was like, oh, I see it, I now see it. But yeah, they've grown a lot. It's been a few years. He was only in 7th grade when he was serving on our commission. Now he's very, very busy, active in sports, in school. It's good to see and Truthy showed up as well. And then I just thought it was fitting that at least my experience of the end of the event happened around the table. So it was a very nice event. And Mr. Scott had words in closing. Mr. Scott, I just handed the baton over back to you.
Thank you.
Well, that concludes that presentation. Shall we move on to our memorial tribute proclamations? So we had a very nice event here at Wildwood City Council on June 9th. We were able to celebrate both Linda Hart Camp, who had sadly passed just the day before. But it was a really nice tribute to her, I think, and her daughter did attend and accept the proclamation on her behalf. I had talked to Linda actually just a few days before, and she sounded like herself. honestly, I couldn't even tell that she was going through all of this. And she just said how much she appreciated being able to be involved in this work. She appreciated the commission for recognizing it. And she's been expressing totally at peace. She said it was the right time. She was okay with it. And so I like to think that she was in a really good place when recognized her daughter was able to come. Jill, of course, was also recognized. Her daughter was in attendance. It was the first time I got to meet Kristen. She and Dave were celebrating their 53rd wedding anniversary, which was fitting because Jill has told me over and over again that she felt like Dave was a part of this recognition as well, because he put up with all of her boxes over the years that she wrote her Wildwood history book. So I'm glad. I'm glad that we were able to give her that recognition as well. And they were able to go for ice cream afterwards. And I'm happy to report. I had pictures for this, and I probably should have been showing you pictures all along. But your chair actually did his first official, that was your first official duty as chair, right? Yes, he introduced both proclamations very nicely. In fact, Jill von Gruben asked for his comments afterwards. So they really touched her. This is Linda's daughter, Elizabeth Brzezinski. Mayor. Here's Jill. Her proclamation. And then Mr. Scott was also in attendance, witnessed these proclamations. So we had a nice photo moment with. That concludes my debrief. Our next step for these two, they do, as part of this recognition, they receive memorial bricks at Old School. So at a future date, we'll arrange for a nice event similar to Paul. I try to butcher his name, but Chowkey. We can have a similar dedication event at Old Pond School for both of them. And then I'll also be writing up something for them on the city site as well. Thank you. All right. Our next item has to do with our June History Tent, which just passed. At our last Music on Main concert, we had a historic preservation plan engagement. MIG prepared this huge map of Wildwood and put all of our historic landmarks on it, including our local landmarks, our county landmarks, and our National Register landmarks. And concert goers were asked to put stickers on landmarks that they felt should be celebrated, stickers on landmarks that they felt were at risk, and stickers on landmarks that they felt or that they knew were lost but should be recognized anyway. And they weren't limited necessarily to the landmarks that were presented to them. So some of them, did write-ins. And I think what was interesting, and I actually told Babbler, the folks representing Babbler today, Babbler State Park actually received the most stickers for a landmark that should be celebrated. So I do think it's a very apt home for our historic marker. Rockwood's Reservation was right up there as well. Big Chief Roadhouse, Bethel Church, Dobles Grove, Belle Usson Farmstead, Rock Hollow Trail, and that history and climate were all mentioned by people. I don't think any of those were right, except for the Rock Hollow Trail. Okay. Landmarks that received the most attention of being at risk included the LaSalle Institute. And because the LaSalle Institute isn't designated, that was actually an initial write-in by someone, and then they received the most stickers for at risk people. Everybody seemed to have that on their minds. So publicity is certainly getting out there. The Route 66 historic roadbed actually received some attention as well, for people who apparently are in the know. Overbrook, the Tyler House, and the Wildwood Historical Society all got at-risk stickers. The landmarks identified as lost but should be recognized included the Rock Hollow Trail area and its history. So just understanding that used to be a main thoroughfare and the industry that would happen in that area. Mary Cliff was a ride-in, and that person didn't even know Mary Cliff was being demolished. So they actually mentioned Mary Cliff and got to share that news. So it was thus identified. Someone brought up the Allsworth homestead along Austin Fort Court. I wasn't aware of it, but I'll do some investigation. Of it. Someone brought up the Lost Creek access along Fox Creek Road. They used to play in the creek and parking lot. That reason brought that up, and the Stewart Lodge identified. It was a really interesting activity, actually. I felt like I was able to have conversations with people that don't come up. So I think it was a great activity to do. I think we'll bring it back for the open house, and that might be an opportunity to have even more engagement around it. Because I will say that at those concert events, it's hard to talk with people. It's hard to hear. It's hard to do this type of activity. But I was actually pleasantly surprised with what we were able to learn from it. I do think we had about 30 to 50 people participate in the activity overall. Ms. Boré was helping me with the map activity, so great. Our former chair sold a few t-shirts. He almost sold a history book, but you can blame Director Bunich for that lost sale.
That sounds like a story.
Overall, it was a great night. I'd just like to thank Council Liaison Rambo, our former chair, our youth commissioner, and our new chair for volunteering for this event. It was a good crew as usual. Everybody helped out. We got things set up despite the wind and some mishaps along the way. But overall, I think we got what we wanted. So at this time, I'll turn it over to our volunteers if there's any comments. Otherwise, that concludes my presentation.
Said it all.
Old Pond School Drawing Contest. At this time, I would invite Commissioner Boré to come down.
So I do have a winner. It's an artwork by Olivia Willenbrink. I think that's how you say it. And so next, I'm going to start making a list of people I want to talk to, people I want to interview potentially for the video. And I'm just really excited to start actually filming. And I definitely want to visit the school, and hopefully there's people there that I can talk to. But I'm just really excited to begin the process. And hopefully I'll have a finished video to show everyone by the end of July. So yeah, those are my updates. Any questions?
Thank you.
I got one. It was very sad. Yeah. Oh. Yeah.
That's bad.
I know. I was expecting a lot more because I talked to principals at so many elementary schools, and they said they'd share it with them, and I have my suspicions that they didn't, but because but it's okay. I really like this one, and yeah, no one else.
How old was she?
I think she was in 4th grade. Yeah.
Good.
What,
I think it's just supposed to be like the school and like someone. Basically.
Thank you.
Moving right along. Mr. Chair, members of the commission, I have shared the National Alliance of Preservation Commission's virtual summer short course information with you repeatedly. And that's because there's some pretty amazing session topics, I think, that especially if you're relatively new to the commission, I think they're worth attending. Because this is essentially the nuts and bolts of what we do. So if you are interested in attending these 2-day sessions, and again, they are available on demand. So even if you aren't available those 2 days exactly, you can still pay the fee, register, and have access to the video recordings afterwards. The department, this commission does have a training budget. So there's actually money allotted for this type of training opportunity. So don't be swayed by the cost, but the department can go ahead and register everyone who wants to attend and pay that registration fee. And then that will give you access to these sessions. So if you feel like they would be beneficial to you, we do encourage that you attend. Obviously, we do have several other training opportunities ahead of us as well. I'm also happy to share the news. I'm not sure yet. I'm happy to share this news. I still don't know how firm it really is. But the city was approved our application for the Historic Preservation Fund for our training for the conference next year to the forum was approved by the state. They still haven't received their federal funds yet. So I still think it's kind of a wait and see. But assuming that they are given their funds for 2025, then our training is paid for, including the next virtual summer course session, which would be in 2027. And then 3 officers are paid for to go to Minneapolis next year to the forum event. Yes. This will qualify as the mandatory training. So for those of you who are new, because we are a certified local government, we are required, all of our commissioners, anyone who's a voting member is required to attend at least one approved training per year discussing good standing as a CLG. And part of being a CLG is we get special treatment when it comes to the Historic Preservation Fund. So that's part of, how we get funding for our historic preservation plan effort, for how we get funding for our training, and just other benefits to being in this local, state, federal partnership. That is great.
is there a physical location for this training established yet?
It's a virtual training.
It's only virtual.
It's called the virtual summer course.
Okay.
The 2026 forum in Minneapolis is a physical training, but this is virtual.
So
Okay.
we just let you know if we're interested. Is that what you were saying?
Yes, send me
Okay.
an email and I'll register everyone all at once.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Not ready for action. Yes, Landy Lane.
Oops. I forgot to touch upon the back to school and celebrate Wildwood planning topic. So I would like to do that real fast. As you know, this year, the commission agreed to do history tents at the June Music on Main concert, the August back to school party, and the September Celebrate Wildwood event, which is our big event and our all hands on deck event. However, first, we have our back to school party, which is coming up on Friday, August 15th, with volunteers asked to serve from 4 to 7:30 p.m. So it's a little bit earlier than our regular Music on Main concerts. We are respectfully requesting that our youth members attend because this is right up your alley. Last year, the commission had the following activities available, including the zombie beanbag toss, our Route 66 Hot Wheels track, which unfortunately is no longer available, and our SN Log Cabin Building Challenge. We are recommending that the zombie beanbag toss and the Lincoln Log Challenge do return for our August event. And then additionally, we'd like a youth-focused historic preservation plan engagement activity. And so I basically had this idea that we asked youth to put stickers on activities that they think would get them excited about Wildwood history. And so in your memorandum, I have a huge long list of, what some of those exciting activities might be. And of course, we would accept write-ins. But basically, we want to get the youth involved in, what do they think would get people excited about Wildwood's history. So some of these ideas include taking a nighttime stroll on Rock Hollow Trail and telling spooky stories about Zombie Road. Experience what it was like to attend Old Pond School by taking classes there for one day. Maybe invite a teacher to bring her class and just do all their classes there. Take a trip to the Wildwood Historical Society to tour the museum, which used to be an old toy factory, and meet in the old chicken coop. I think that could be appealing. Tour a reconstructed log cabin. Find a geocache at Wildwood History Landmarks. Participate in a Route 66 scavenger hunt. Attend a historically themed festival. Solve word searches or crossword puzzles, which we do already. So anyway, or watch short videos about Wildwood historic landmarks and stories. That's what Commissioner Flory is working on. So we'll get an idea of what really appeals to kids the most through this activity. If you would like to volunteer, or if you have ideas, please let me know. I'm asking if you can commit to volunteer to let me know by July 15th. So we have a crew together, because sometimes with the back to school party, it takes a little bit of lead time for some of the planning and engagement, as we saw last year. Any questions? Does anyone think they would like to help out at the back to school party, which is more kid and youth oriented? I've got Commissioner Quarterneck or Vice Chair Quarterneck and Commissioner Bore. Yay, come. All right. Anyone else, if you determine at a later date that you can attend and help out, we'd certainly welcome you. This engagement is more interactive than our other history tents, so we do need more volunteers to make it happen. Mr. Scott, are you available? Okay, you get to do the Lincoln Log Challenge.
Be there.
To be honest with you, I haven't even begun planning for Celebrate Wildwood, because that is going to take some coordination with MIG, since they will be here on site for Celebrate Wildwood. Right now, we're focused on open house and focus group planning, but I do want to put it on your radar, because every year, Celebrate Wildwood is all day long. We need as many of you as possible to sign up for shifts. Last year, we attempted to do too much and we ended up, our signature activity, our tree, didn't get executed because we just simply did not have enough volunteers per shift to make it happen. We needed someone there facilitating the activity. So, so please do mark this date on your calendar. Volunteers are critical for Celebrate Wildwood, and this will be another huge historic preservation plan engagement opportunity. Mark your calendar, let me know. Thank you.
Do you want to say anything about the Lindy Lane statement here? B, not ready for action.
It's still not ready for action.
Okay.
I've reached out to a few individuals to collect information. But the department just simply doesn't have the information to present to you this evening.
Next item is we've talked about, we recognize it's just a formality to issue that to all of you, that to know that this is going to take place, that Mary Cliff is going to be demolished and the rights and privileges have been given to them to proceed, despite anything we've attempted to do. So we're just watching it go by at this particular time. Are there any other matters for our consideration? Yes.
I had sent in communication to some part of the department, asking if it would be attractive or feasible to salvage, say, an edifice of a structure that's being destroyed, as the Mary Cliff is, whether the front entry or whether any other remarkable features, ionic pillars of something would get stuck up in Village Green, just like the columns at a zoo. Anything that would remind those of a famous structure that could be preserved and re-erected, even if the structure itself was condemned and demolished inside. Did that ever gain any traction, or had you been aware of my sending that in?
I think probably at the time that we received it, we had already had those negotiations with Mary Cliff, the Marionettes, the demolition company, and the department, and settled on items that could be preserved. So Director Vunich might have additional information. Unfortunately, he's not here tonight, so I can follow up with you. But I will say that they were really anxious after a year of holding off to move forward, and we were trying very hard to preserve as much as possible, and there was only so much they were kind of willing to do. So.
I had actually thought more of the O'Connell House than anything else, and now that's been removed from the danger plate, it sounds like.
Yeah, the JP Connell House we're looking to restore, so we're not looking to salvage miniature architectural elements from it. But you're right, with the JP Connell House, there were some columns there that were pretty, that would have been worth preserving, I think, if it had come down. But thankfully, it's not.
Yeah,
it's good news.
Anything else? If not, we stand adjourned.
Good job. Yeah, it's a lot for my, yeah. Yes. Someone very. It's not.
Thank you for being here tonight. Oh. Have a woman. That's our favorite drink here.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's great. That's my business. It's getting after. Yeah, it's like a big conversation. The question is, it's always like an action. Yeah, if I get. Sure. Yeah. Appreciate what you guys do. It's young. Yeah, we're all tired. None of us want to wear heels. All right, we'll talk to you. Hi, honey. Hey. Better than.
Well.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, one. Fire.